everybody. It's week 4 of our August online program for the alumni of the Sunshine Coast Health Center up here in Powell River, British Columbia. And this month, the topic, finding meaning and purpose in the workplace. And I was just thinking about this. Everybody I know who's happy has got a job that they love to do, that they're passionate about, and most of the people that I would say are unhappy are at jobs that they may not be really thrilled about. And I say most just because I know some people aren't happy because of their home situation. But this whole idea of work seems to be pretty fundamental to human happiness, to do something productive in your life, to feel like as if you're growing, as if you're making a meaningful contribution, right? And I'm thinking just the people I know, Dr. Ken Hart, who I've talked about in the online program, one of Canada's foremost researchers in the addiction field. Yeah, he told me about a month ago that, I have this. I'm doing work I love and I get well paid for it. What more do you want, right? And my mentor, Dr. Wong, in his 70s, still works very hard, and it's not interrupting his family life or anything. Yeah, but he still puts in lots of hours because he loves the work. He publishes books. His second edition of the Human Quest for Meaning's coming out because he wants to contribute his expertise to the world, to help people. I mean, he could take the time off and just retire, right, and just go putter around in the garden, but that Dr. Wong would not be following his bliss if he did that. And then there are people that I know, some of our alumni I've talked to with on the phone that tell me they're struggling a bit, and I'll ask why, and maybe they really don't have a job, maybe they're still looking and they're having a tough time. For some of them, they started school but they dropped out because they didn't really like it. Others are just there because they got 3 kids and a mortgage to pay, so they're just like, as one fellow put it, I'm just, as a man, I just got to suck it up and deal with it. And they aren't particularly happy at their occupation, or whether it's even just looking for a job. Right? And it's this link between meaningful work and happiness, and actually good recovery too, right? Because good recovery depends on feeling fulfilled and feeling a sense of achievement and happiness in life. And then I was thinking of examples I've read about, people that I've talked about on the online program, people like Eric Clapton, right? So everybody knows Eric Clapton had a drug problem for many years and ended up in a residential treatment center twice to try to get it under control. And eventually did. And now he's been clean and sober, I believe, about 20 years. And I just remember his autobiography in the last chapter where he talks about that he can say for real that he's happy now. In the early part of the book, when he was in active addiction, work meant fame, meant money, meant lots of partying, women, all that excitement, playing in front of 50,000 screaming people, a lot of adrenaline rushes. And at the end of the book, he talks about his music, his job. Right? And his job now, he looks at it, he is a healer. So he heals people with his music. And what a transformation from the young Eric Clapton getting famous, loving the music of course, but getting famous and making lots of money and showing up on television and in big concerts, to the man who has all this fame and everything else and yet is talking about being a healer for people who are suffering. Right? That's really quite remarkable when you think about it. And in recovery, everyone I know who's happy in recovery, they're doing something that fills them up. And in the field, the addiction treatment field, right? I know lots of recovering addicts who have gone back to school, total career change, and are now counselors because they're making a lot less money than they used to, by the way. But the work they're doing, they feel good about it. This idea of helping other people who are suffering. And this is an important lesson to learn. So whatever you do in your life, it's important that for work that it fills you up, whatever that looks like. I often tell the guys, as you know, because if you probably heard me say this, I mean, if following your bliss meant growing your hair long, wearing sandals, and make pottery on the beach, then it might be a good idea to do it. Because if you go to medical school and become a doctor, or law school and become a lawyer just because, I don't know, somebody, your parents say you should, or you think that's a good idea because that makes you really respectable, that may not be the best idea, right? So the idea is to do something that's rewarding to you personally, whatever that is. And maybe you'll pick a job where you're not making a lot of money. Who knows? I mean, I know tons of musicians, aspiring musicians and artists who have waiters' jobs. They don't really like the job, but they make enough money that it allows them to practice their art and to refine it and to publicize it, right? So they're making this conscious choice. The most important thing to them is their art. And yet they know they have to live, pay the rent, so then they get this job as a waiter or something that won't occupy their mind. They won't have to take their homework with them. All right. So there's lots of ways of accomplishing this as well, as long as you keep your eye on the prize. And at the conference that we held in Vancouver, this is one of the key themes that the speakers mentioned, is to look at your life and your work as something that you're contributing, something that you have passion for. And not passion just because it's intense, just because, you know, you get to stand in front of 50,000 screaming people, right? Not that kind of intensity, but more like the thing that Eric Clapton said about looking at his work as now he's a healer, he's contributing, he's helping other people, right? That's an important part of recovery. And I think I mentioned before in the online program, one fellow we had here who had this fantastic job, got to fly first class everywhere, invited to all sorts of parties with very famous people. And he told me, well, Geoff, I could care what I'm doing now, if that was my job or if I was selling eggs. All I know is I get to be a rock star, right? So the job had no meaning to him. And he struggled pretty mightily in recovery because of this as well. And, well, we can name off dozens and dozens of examples of people who don't look at work as something to pursue as a passion. It's, for a lot of people, it's just a matter of paying the checks or paying the rent or buying food and stuff like that. And who are sticking with this job, well, just because, well, that's what they should do, and that's what their family thinks they should do, that's what society thinks they should do, and they get a paycheck out of it. So cool. But in recovery, especially in early recovery, this is a very difficult way of living. Much better if you have a plan to follow your bliss and make a decision on, okay, well, I'll do this job even though I really don't like it because I need enough money to get to where I really want. And then think like that, right? Much better approach. That will give you some purpose in your life, some direction, and generally speaking, well, Viktor Frankl is right. It should all work out, and you should actually get happy, right? So at any rate, these are things to think about in your work. So we've covered this month in the online program a few ideas. These concepts of it, maybe if the job is, you're there because it's intense, it provides an adrenaline rush. You know, that lasts if you're in your early 20s, but after a while it might get kind of boring because there's no real guts to it, no real substance. And we've been talking about the idea of allowing the job to become your identity. And that may not be such a good idea because you need a balanced life. You are a human being first and you are this job person second, right? And to have, again, this balance in your life, remember that you're human, to love and to be loved, to go out and have fun and do hobbies and join community groups and do things like that, right? This well-balanced life is pretty important. And so all of these things for you to think about and consider and look at, examine your own life and how you're doing in it. And as always, we have the written portion of the online program. If you want to send that in, that's great. And at any rate, we'll see you in September with another topic.